Chapter 2 is about the foundations of communication. This is going to set the stage for the project as well as what strategic business communication is all about. So as I mentioned in the previous video, this part of the module is dealing with the foundations of communication, which then leads into the actual strategic communication process that has 4 steps that we'll be talking about in chapters 3, 4, and 5. So the one thing that the book talks about that I want to make sure that you're aware of is that in this day and age, in order to have a solid communication foundation, people have to be versed in personal literacy, that's understanding and valuing oneself, so self-awareness, self-esteem. Also, social literacy, which is engaging and challenging other people's feelings and understandings, so this way you're socially literate. The next literacy is business literacy, and that's focusing and mobilizing on one's organization or understanding the business environment, organizational culture, and all the different processes that you'd find in a business or corporate setting. And then last but not least would be the idea of cultural literacy, and that's being able to value and leverage cultural differences and that you're aware of those things. These are all different literacies that you needed to have and master in order to be strategic in your communication process. So the next thing I wanted to just briefly mention is the idea of authentic dialogue. So they talked about in chapter 2 authentic dialogue, and the fact of the matter is that authentic dialogue has some challenges. It requires high self-awareness, it requires high self-esteem. You have to speak from experience when you're dealing with authentic dialogue, and you also have to listen for experience. So those are the challenges. And the considerations would be that at any organizational level, that individuals must manage reputation, image, and identity. Further, at a personal level, they must also manage their reputation and image, because those are things that affect authentic dialogue. And then it also talks about developing an intrapreneurial approach. So when you think about being intrapreneurial, this is where you have to think really objectively. I want you to look at what they were, or think about what they were talking about with Bartlett's 6-person theory. Now, Bartlett's 6-person theory is you thinking of how you communicate from six different perspectives. So you need to think about, first of all, how you view yourself. Then you have to think about how you view the person that you're having dialogue with. From there, you have to think about how you believe that person views you. So again, it's how you view yourself, how the person you're having dialogue views you, and then how you believe that person views you. The next thing is you have to think about how the other person views him or herself. That's the other idea of this theory. And then you have to think about how that person views you. And then how the person you're in dialogue also believes that you view him or her. So these different perspectives, the 6-person theory, this allows you to be objective when you're thinking about your message in the dialogue that you are having with another individual. So you're actually not just having dialogue with another person, but you have to think of all these different angles. So it's almost like you're having a dialogue with 6 different persons. So the next concept was self-awareness and communication. This is really important. If you want to be a strategic and effective communicator, you have to think about different things. So for example, I talked about the idea of a self-fulfilling prophecy, the idea that the way we see ourselves is consistent on how others see us. Another thing is having intrapersonal communication, which deals with perceptions of ourselves, different memories, experiences, feelings, ideas, opinions. So that would be from an inside perspective or an intrapersonal perspective. The other thing is having intrapersonal intelligence, and this is the ability to have an accurate model of yourself and being able to use this model effectively. So it's all about being aware of who you are, what your beliefs are, what others believe of you, and so on. And then finally, the idea of interpersonal intelligence, and that's the ability to understand others. So I like to remember it by inter, others, intra, it's kind of like inside, but that's just one of the ways I try to remember that. So intra is your own self-awareness. Inter is being aware of others around you. And this ties into the concept of emotional intelligence, or EQ. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be going into a website where you will be determining your own levels of emotional intelligence. This website has a quiz. There's 146 questions. I think it's pretty comprehensive. And it's going to go quickly though, but you're going to answer these questions, and it's going to be gauging you on your self-awareness, or the ability to be aware of what you're feeling, your ability to self-manage yourself. That would be managing your emotions and impulses. The ability to self-motivate so that you persevere despite setbacks or failures. Also the idea of having empathy so that you can put yourself in other people's shoes. And then finally, it's having social skills, or the ability to actually handle the emotions of others. So this emotional intelligence is very important. Researchers are actually saying nowadays that it's more important than cognitive intelligence, or your intelligence quotient, which would be the IQ. And as a result, emotional intelligence is almost predicting success in the workplace or working with others. So your emotional intelligence is something that you can always keep improving upon in these different areas: self-awareness, self-management, self-motivation, empathy, and social skills. So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody's results in the Dropbox. Finally, as I mentioned, you're going to be doing this quiz. It's so important, but it kind of ties into Myers-Briggs intelligence test that you took before the class started. So being self-aware is also being aware of your personality and how that plays into how you communicate. So that's why a lot of companies tend to use, and organizations use, Myers-Briggs intelligence tests for your personality type indicator, as well as the emotional intelligence test as well. So enjoy taking your emotional intelligence quiz, and I'll look forward to the results. Take care.